So with Freeza being Freeza, how do you think he might use this nugget of information against the Saiyans in his care? Hey folks, MasakoX here. Now the big story of Raditz may have come to its chronological conclusion, but recently, we started a new story for the likes of the tall, pineapple-haired one, right from the beginning. This story is more centered around the time when Raditz and his little brother might have had the opportunity to escape the final moments of Planet Vegeta, like at the beginning of the Broly movie. But in this scenario, it doesn't all go to plan. Despite Bardock and Guinea saving their children's lives, only one got to sample true freedom, all thanks to his bigger brother bailing on him. That's going to be mighty interesting when they have a reunion in the fullness of time. In any case, what could have changed within Dragon Ball had Raditz been the one to go to Earth instead of the one we're used to going? In the last part, the mystical adventure to find the Dragon Balls had almost reached its conclusion, with there being more twists and turns than we had expected. With this part, we had Yamcha join the party indirectly, trying to find the Dragon Balls himself, as well as the revelation that Chi-Chi got snubbed in favour of Bulma in terms of Raditz's affections. To be fair, Bulma and Raditz were sorta crossing on each other indirectly, but this Chi-Chi encounter kinda made them act on their suppositions a bit more overtly. With them going steady right now, things were looking up. However, out in space, Vegeta had started to get insecure with Kakarot's steady improvements, and told Nappa to stop training him more than he needed to be. As far as the prince was concerned, he would rather see Kakarot die in the field, or at least get wounded of his own accord, rather than him being trained up, the low-class resentment being strong here. That being said, Freeza had heard via the scouters about Kakarot's brother, and how he was out in space somewhere, or at least Kakarot thought he was. Very interesting piece of information to use in future, the Emperor thought. Nappa escorted Kakarot to the throne room and bowed before their leader, not out of choice, but out of necessity. Freeza was very cordial at times like these. It was very unsettling, given the history between himself and Saiyans. Every time Nappa would see Freeza being nice to him, it always filled him with a deep, dark sense of foreboding. That feeling of goodwill that he was displaying could easily turn into malice, or worse, a shot through the heart, with only themselves to blame. This time though, Freeza was genuinely calm and welcoming. "Good afternoon, you two. My, Nappa, you certainly look worse for wear." Freeza was addressing the battered and sorry state of Nappa's face. The big lug had brushed it off as of merely the trials and tribulations of fighting on the front line for Frieza's cause. However, Kakarot knew the real reason. But Uncle Nappa had told him not to mention this to Lord Freeza at any cost. He would only get back to the prince. "I have brought you here to deliver good news concerning you, little one." His piercing glare turned to Kakarot, who looked nervous despite the positive sentence.
Yes, Lord Freeza?"
"My galactic scouts have reported to me some rather interesting information. It concerns your brother, Raditz, I believe." Kakarot's ears perked up, whilst Nappa looked concerned. A Saiyan? Out in the open? And Freeza knew about it? Well, if Freeza was onto him, he wouldn't be out in the open for much longer. "It appears that he was spotted and seemingly in good spirits," Freeza lied. "Unfortunately for us, though, we are sadly not in the position to reunite him with you at this time."
"Well, why is that, my lord?"
said Kakarot with curiosity. Freeza didn't like Saiyans questioning his motives, but he wanted this illusion to work and hold, so he buried his anger deep within, Order of a Duck's back, which unsettled Nappa even further. "He is too far from our settlements to launch a reasonable rescue mission, I'm afraid. However, that could all be resolved sooner than you think." Kakarot looked focused.
"You don't need to do that, my lord."
Frieza's eyes looked surprised. "Come again? You don't want to see your brother again? I thought that... my sources claimed that you were most keen to see him once more." Kakarot nodded.
"I am, but I'd rather find him myself. So long as I know he's alive and well, though, I'm happy."
Frieza's anger was harder to contain. Are you sure?" Kakarot nodded again.
"Very sure. If you can just let me know where he is and where he goes, then perhaps we can find one another, and I can bring him back on my terms."
Freeza blinked for a second, processing this information that he initially really did not like.
Very well. I shall have my men monitor his, movements. But do you promise to be a good boy and do your job to the best of your ability and then some?
Kakarot smiled.
Absolutely. So long as Vegeta will allow it, though.
Nappa gave Kakarot a stare of fear and dread.
Oh?
Said Freeza with mirth, completely forgetting his anger.
The prince giving you trouble now?
He knew exactly what was going on, but wanted to hear this from the boy directly.
He's hurt Nappa!
Nappa laughed loudly. Well, hurt is a strong word, Lord Freeza. It was an accident. Totally honest, you know me. It wasn't an accident.
Of course. Fear not, little one. Your concerns have been noted. Now you may leave.
He motioned for the Saiyans to leave, and they exited. The Emperor sat down in his cushy chair, thinking about things. He was annoyed that his plan had seemingly not gone the way he wanted it to. But Berry Blue soothed his furrowed brow.
My lord, your cause is not lost. How is that, Berry Blue? The boy is not fussed about finding his own brother. That may be, but your promise was enough to convince him to serve you well. You got your way, my lord, in the end, just a little more indirectly.
Freeza smiled.
You know what? You're right. Goodness, I am brilliant, aren't I? Do you happen to know where his brother actually is, my lord?
Freeza shot her a look.
Of course I don't. How would I know that? Space isn't exactly small, you know. Hopefully this Raditz makes himself known in the fullness of time for me. For now, though, we can use that Kakarot's impish optimism to our advantage. Maybe, perhaps, put Vegeta in his place as well. That's always good fun.
Freeza sat back and sighed.
This has indeed worked out for the best.
Meanwhile, back on Earth, the penultimate Dragon Ball had been found, and the danger of Monster Carrot had thankfully been thwarted. Bulma's life had been endangered like in the original, but Raditz's power and speed had been more than enough to convince the mobster to revert his spell, halting their tyranny of the town as well that they had taken over. However, Raditz's strength was enough of a deterrent to ensure that Monster Carrot would not spend the rest of his days living on the moon making mochi. And yes, that did happen in the original. With this, the team were now setting out to get the final Dragon Ball, which was in the hands of Emperor Pilaf. Now, I bet you've been wondering why he hasn't shown up until now. Well, isn't it obvious? Raditz, he's ridiculously strong. Way stronger than Goku was in the original, and Pilaf, as you know, is incredibly cowardly. He wouldn't want to rush in there with his equipment to get handed, his precious robots being destroyed. He couldn't afford new ones. So instead, he had to think differently. He aimed to, thanks to Mai's idea, lure them with their greatest salvo. They had one Dragon Ball. They were looking for them, these folks, and so they would naturally go wherever they chose to place said orb. It was like a beacon. So they hatched a plan which involved distracting Raditz, and one thing they had gathered would work wonders was food. Set up an eating contest. With money. The plan was set in motion. Nearby Pilaf's stronghold, he had set up a contest with the local folk, which would naturally catch Raditz's eye. With 10,000 zeni for the grand prize and all the food he could eat, Raditz had to go for it, but Bulma wasn't convinced.
You don't need to prove yourself, Raditz. We're so close to the Dragon Ball. Can't you just wait for later? I can give you all the food you need at home.
But Bulma, 10,000 zeni! That's the most amount of money I've ever seen in my life! Grandpa would love that most dearly. Besides, I can eat 10 times more than any human can. Let me try it, please!
Oolong was keen to get away from Raditz for a while, and so cajoled Bulma into letting him get on with it. It wouldn't take long to find the ball anyway, and they could be back to help cart Raditz off from his food coma. With the group disbanding, Yamcha now saw his chance. He had been stalking the group far more than before, not aiding them with Carrot, and now could get the Dragon Balls for himself. Pa, to help his master, transfigured himself into a pair of beer goggles, which would disfigure Bulma's appearance enough to make it easy for his friend to mount a charge at close quarters. And so, they set off. However, Yamcha didn't realize that he was walking with the group into Pilaf's trap. They were led down winding corridors before entering a room which contained the Dragon Ball. Before Bulma could grab it though, Yamcha leapt out and blocked the exit. "Hold it there! I'll be taking those," Oolong groaned.
Not you again. Bulma, see him off, will ya? He's scared of girls.
Bulma puffed out her chest to work her magic, but nothing happened.
Aha! Master Yamcha's brilliant plan has thwarted your woman-looking advances, heathen!
Said the goggles. What? But before Oolong could explain who that was, and that was Poir, the exit door sealed, and they were all trapped inside. As they lamented this, Pilaf came on the screen, taunting them.
Ha ha ha! I got you where I want you! Now you cannot escape from my trap! The Dragon Ball shall be mine! That example in that room, that trap, was a fake! The real one is right here!
He pulled out a Dragon Ball, and the group were dumbstruck. But then Shu said something off screen.
Boss? About that, I might have forgotten.
The balls in the chamber glowed with a yellow tint. Shu had put the real ball in the chamber instead of the fake one. Their plan had failed. Oops. Outside, Raditz was walking to the castle, where the others had gone, and saw the sky turn black. That was odd. Then a bolt of lightning rained down on the castle he was heading to. Oh no, Raditz thought. They were in trouble. Someone else had beaten Bulma to it. This must be the Dragon Balls. He rushed to the scene, seeing the roof collapse from the weight and size of a giant green dragon shooting up into the sky from the central point, where the Dragon Balls were obviously. So, Raditz leapt up the walls and roofs to see his friends and Yamcha down below, happy to see him. Well, Bulma wasn't too happy.
If it makes you feel any better,
Raditz held up a wad of cash.
I won!
Yamcha, though, looked apprehensive. But Raditz wasn't in the mood to have a round two, so he got away with it.
You have summoned the eternal dragon. State your wish, and it shall be granted.
This became the quandary. What to wish for? Bulma had gotten her wish in the end, without even needing the dragon. She wanted either a lifetime supply of strawberries or a boyfriend. But she actually wound up with a boyfriend technically in Raditz, and the 10,000 zeni he had could buy plenty of fruit to make it up to her. So, she turned to her Saiyan partner.
Raditz, you can have the wish. Turns out, I never needed the dragon to get what my heart desired most.
She pecked him on the cheek, Raditz blushing again.
Are you sure? I know how much you wanted to find the Dragon Balls.
Bulma nodded and motioned for him to step forward.
What is your wish?
Shenron said to Raditz. Raditz pondered for a second. He could wish for power. He could wish to be the strongest on the planet. But wait, he already was. Will that be a waste? And where's the fun in that? He wanted to train to earn this power. But then he thought of Kakarot. Was he still out there? A twinge of guilt coursed through his mind, but that guilt gave him a wish.
Mighty Dragon! I wish for the one named Kakarot to become stronger, that he may never come to harm by anything that dares come his way.
Shenron was silent for a moment, Raditz thinking that the wish wouldn't work. Was Kakarot dead, and the wish unnecessary? But then, the dragon's eyes glowed red.
Your wish is granted. Farewell.
Shenron rose up from the hole in the roof, and so did the Dragon Balls. In the heavens, they shot off in different directions, and the radar went silent in Bulma's hand. The balls were now inert, and would not become active again for another year. Pilaf then dashed into the chamber, exclaiming profanities at having lost out on the Dragon Balls, but then realized what he walked into. He'd walked into the lion's den, or more accurately, the wolf's den.
Yamcha,
Raditz turned to the bandit.
this is your one.
I'll take it. Yamcha cracked his knuckles, and Pilaf spent the rest of the day in hospital. With the wish granted and their adventure complete, Raditz and Bulma weren't sure what to do next. They were a couple now, but Raditz wasn't sure that Bulma would like to live out in the country. She was a city girl. But then Bulma came up with another idea. How about he came to West City for a while? He could see the sights. His first time in the big city. Maybe meet her parents. Raditz looked terrified.
Are you sure they like me?
You might be rough around the edges, but you're a sweet guy, really. And a good cuddler.
She hugged him to prove the point.
See? Best hugs I've ever had. And that wish? That was really selfless of you. That was really sweet of you.
Raditz nodded.
Well, I felt like I should help him, despite us being light years apart. But at least I know he's still out there. And now,
safe. With that, the pair headed off to West City with Oolong released from his tenure, and Yamcha heading back to the desert, curious to see if he would meet Raditz again for that round 2. Oh, he would, in time. As that happened, Vegeta had a bone to pick with Nappa. Word had gotten around that Freeza was displeased with the prince and had been told to back off of his underlings. But the prince instead chose to double down, not pull back. He approached Nappa and laid into him with the force of all of his strength.
This will teach you to run to Freeza instead of facing me like a proud Saiyan warrior! Vegeta, stop! You can't do this! We Saiyans need to stick together, not rip each other to shreds! This is exactly what Freeza wants! Don't tell me what Freeza wants! I know all too well what he wants! And what he wants is to see me suffer, I know it!
Then Kakarot walked in the room, coming to the aid of Nappa, but then got slammed into the floor by Vegeta, who didn't hold back. Kakarot was bloodied and bruised, but before Vegeta could carry on his onslaught, Kakarot was covered in a golden glow. His wounds recovered. He felt great. Better than he was when he entered the room. He felt powerful, like his Saiyan power had been jolted up a notch for free. He got up, and Vegeta chose to continue, but his punch was blocked by Kakarot.
You leave Nappa alone. I'm tired of you hurting us day after day.
Vegeta was stunned. He tried to attack again, but got blocked every single time. Nappa checked his scouter, and the scouter reported back a huge rise in Kakarot's power level, but surely not enough to stop Vegeta.
2,000? How is that possible? He was 200 this morning. What's going on here?
Vegeta halted, instead flipping the situation.
At last, you're showing some backbone. Good. That'll be all.
With that, Vegeta hurried out of the room. Nappa looked to Kakarot.
What happened there?
Kakarot looked to his hands.
I don't know, but something changed me. I feel stronger than ever.
Yeah.
Nappa pointed to his scouter.
You're half as strong as me now, and you halted Vegeta. Thanks, little guy.
He got up and looked determined.
We need to train more. No holding back. If we're gonna stop Vegeta from undermining us anymore, we need to get stronger. Fast.
Kakarot, now feeling fantastic, agreed. And so began their training to stop Vegeta's wicked ways. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? How will Raditz handle the big city? How will Kakarot and Nappa get a handle on their training? Will it be enough to make Vegeta see sense? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I will see you in the next video. Catch you later.